Okay, well, what are the UK's trade options outside of the EU? Let's speak to Michael Jacobsen, an Australian entrepreneur who joins us from our central London studio. Michael, thanks for joining us this afternoon. So let's talk about your country. Why should the UK be looking to Australia, do you think?
Well, I think Australia and the UK have had long-term ties across a variety of spheres. You have long-term cultural ties, you have long-term geopolitical ties and intelligence sharing. And if you look at the statistics at present between Australia's trade with the EU, you have a situation where when the numbers are pulled out, one of the greatest trading partners within the EU is the UK, with over 50% of Australian exports and 60% of FDI being actually between the Australia and the UK within the EU bloc. So there's certainly some compelling reasons, I think, to look at this relationship.
But Michael, if you're looking to use, let's say, the UK as a jump-off point to other markets, would it be less attractive if it's not a member of the EU?
Firstly, Kimberly, I've just come back from Australia where I spent a lot of time, and one of the great things about being there over the last couple of weeks was very few people talked about Brexit. So it was actually nice to have a bit of a break from that. And the point of saying that is that the EU, and as much as that is a credible institution, the EU is not necessarily, I don't believe, the main driver of Australia's relationship. Australia has a long-term relationship with the UK. We have a shared head of state, shared members of the Commonwealth, and many shared values and cultures. And the road is very well travelled between Australia and Britain, with students, with entrepreneurs, with startups. So I think that there's many reasons that Australia's relationship with the UK is in some ways much more strong and stable than it may have been even with the EU itself.
So do you think it would perhaps make the UK more of an attractive trade partner if you're looking to negotiate with the country and you just don't have to deal with the 27 other members of the EU?
Well, look, I think that Australia has a Prime Minister, once again freshly elected, who is an entrepreneur himself. And he's a very successful entrepreneur, and he's a very business-focused individual. And, Australia itself announced a multi-billion-dollar innovation package last year aimed at making Australia more entrepreneurial and moving it away from the resources trade, which has focused so much on over the last decade with China and with Asia. So Australia is looking to do that type of business. The UK, as a nation of traders and as a country, where the cultural similarities are so great, Australia has not just given the UK neighbours and home and away. I think that there's been many positive examples of cooperation between the two. So I think that to go back to that relationship, whether you're a Leave or a Remain person is now irrelevant, I think, in this equation. I think that to go back to that relationship certainly has many positive features, as I've just mentioned.
But there is a problem of a timeline, because Malcolm Turnbull has said that he wants a trade deal negotiated as a matter of urgency. But in the past, we've seen these deals take up to a decade. So do you think that would detract from the attractiveness of any deal?
Well, listening to what Minister Davis said earlier, that it's much easier to do a trade deal with a single country rather than a bloc, and then looking at what I know about Australia, which itself is a fairly young, ambitious country with lots of chutzpah and lots of ambition. I can't see, without the benefit of a crystal ball, I can't see this being an arrangement that would take 10 years. These are not. Australia certainly is not a country known for its bureaucratic wrangling. I would see. I would be quite sure that if any deal was going to be done, this would be one of the faster ones.
Okay, Michael Jacobsen is an Australian entrepreneur. Thanks for talking to us, Michael.
Thanks, Kimberly.